Well, welcome everyone. I'm Frank Fear from Mountaineer Locker Room with my good buddy Greg Crist, and we have looked forward to this conversation with Taylor Scarnato for a long time. I had a chance to get to meet Taylor over the phone, and we've been chatting before this video started. And if the video is half as good as the conversation, this will be not only informative, but also a lot of fun for you. Taylor, so great to have you join us today. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's an honor. I appreciate it.
And Greg, you're all over the state of West Virginia. Today, you're in your office in Morgantown. So if we could take a look, that's a beautiful office back in 1961. Now, I wasn't born yet in 1961, Greg, right?
Well, that would have to.
See how kind he is. That's why I like working with him.
Please fit, Greg.
Taylor, we've had a chance to look at your bio, and we were talking before the show. You graduated in 2012 from WVU, born and bred in West Virginia, spent some time in Pennsylvania, not far from Morgantown. Then you came to the university. But it's just incredible how much you have done professionally in the 10 years or so since you graduated. So why don't we start by you talking about growing up in southern West Virginia, then going to high school in Pennsylvania, and the whole deal that essentially is the road to the job you have right now. Very important job as operations director for the Country Roads Trust.
Yeah, absolutely. So, West Virginia has been in my veins since birth. My mom was from Montgomery. My family hailed from the Montgomery area, as well as Raynell in Greenbrier County. It was very pivotal in making me who I was. It felt much more like home than Pennsylvania ever did. Pennsylvania took us there due to my mom's job, but we spent so much time in West Virginia. A few days after I got out of school, I was headed to West Virginia. A few days before it started, I was headed back to Pennsylvania. So, I spent my summers, catching crawdads in the creek and or the crick, as we used to say. Running the railroad tracks, going bingo at the VFW with my mama. You learn how much WVU means to the state when you live in those areas. And, we didn't have much, and our neighbors across the holler didn't have much, and we all kind of bonded together. But a conversation topic consistently was the Mountaineers. And it was, your world kind of revolved around those games and how the team was doing and what was going on with the university. And it's such a pivotal part of my life. It always has been. So, like I said, my mom had an opportunity to go to West Virginia, but unfortunately, due to my family's circumstances, she was unable to fulfill that dream. And when she told me that at 7, 8 years old, we're both crying. And I said, then I'm going to West Virginia and I'm going to live that dream for us. And I remember being on campus, I would send her a picture on the first day of fall, the first snow in Morgantown, and I wanted her to live that with me. And it was a big amount of pride for my family. I was a first generation college student. And it's really meant everything. And it's part of my identity in a very serious way. When people see the Flying West Virginia out and about, whether it be Mexico or they're at the pool and somebody has a shirt draped behind them, they're taking pictures of it and they're sending it to me. So very often people see that and they equate that to me. And that is such a deep honor for me. And I think that just goes because of how much promotion I've done, work with the Alumni Association, everything I've done, since graduation. And I don't think, this doesn't sound very humble, but I don't think diehard fan exactly describes the level of love that I have for this university, for these programs, and for this great state.
Mm. Boy, I'll tell you what, that is one of the best promotions for WVU, but I can relate to it. But my wife and I migrated to Morgantown from Western New York and both did our graduate work at West Virginia. And, as I always say, we left West Virginia, but West Virginia never left us.
Never
So,
leave. Yeah.
and one of the things that's very interesting, Greg, is we looked at Taylor's biography, and you mentioned it a bit in your intro is that it wasn't too long before you were out in Los Angeles and then in Columbus. And as you mentioned, you were very involved with the alumni. Actually, you founded a WVU alumni chapter in Los Angeles, got very involved, was a Big 12 representative out there, then
Yes.
went to Columbus. So if you could weave that together with the jobs you held by the time after you graduated from WVU in public relations and communications, that would be great.
Yeah. So when I was a senior at WVU, I was in the PI Reed journalism school. They had a mentorship program that I applied for, and I was lucky enough to be chosen. And I was paired with a mentor who was based out of Los Angeles. And my family sent me to Los Angeles in November of my senior year to do a bit of an event. She was a public relations specialist in Los Angeles. And I remember stepping off the plane. It was the furthest west I had ever been than Indianapolis, and smelling the smog, but the craziness of everything that was going on in Los Angeles, it really spoke to me. And it for the first time really showed me that, a little girl from this area could go there. And before then, it wasn't even on my radar. So 3 weeks after graduation, I packed my car, I drove cross country 3 days, landed in Hermosa Beach, California. We had some friends who had gone to WVU that lived there. Two guys in a 1-bedroom apartment. So my best friend and I slept on a futon couch in the foyer. We, showered at the local gym. At times slept out of the car. And 9 days later, I found a bar job and an apartment finally. So we started to get on our feet, but we really went with just the clothes on our back. What we could fit in the car, that was it. And we had, maybe about $2,000 in our pockets, and we were just ready to make it happen. So I luckily found a job. I was a bartender all through school, and I found a bar job, and it was a Steelers bar. And I'm a Steelers fan. My dad is Pittsburgh born and raised. So it was a perfect fit. I'd always worked in sports bars. I was super excited. So I reached out to the LA chapter for alumni for a game watch, and it had kind of fallen apart. There were about 5 people showing up at a West Hollywood bar, but not much was going on. So I said, then I'm making my bar a West Virginia bar. And we hung a flag, and I started promoting, and I started getting on LinkedIn and Facebook and connecting with the Alumni Association. And what we created was the LA South Bay chapter, which was kind of a satellite off of the main LA chapter, because if you've ever been to Los Angeles, the traffic is wild. So, a lot of the games were at 9 a.m. and I didn't want people spending an hour driving out to try to get somewhere. And I wanted it to be accessible. I want Mountaineers to find each other. I want it to be easy to celebrate each other and celebrate together. And it was such an exciting time then too, with Geno Smith and everything that we had going on in the Big 12. So created that, ran that for 10 years. It was incredible. I was, chasing people down in traffic that had West Virginia plates, or flying WVs on the back of their cars in the middle of traffic, rolling down my window, screaming out, "Here's my phone number, call me." So we did great. We really pulled together, some of my best friends still to this day, I founded through that group. So that was something that, really brought to me, and a story I've never told on media was the bar that I worked at. I was about a week in, and we only had one vehicle. So I was waiting for my roommate to come pick me up, and I was sitting at the bar, and I was lonely, and I thought, did I make a huge mistake? And I miss Morgantown so much. I miss my family. I'm so far away. And is this the right fit for me? And I'm sitting at the bar and I'm crying. I'm after shift, and tears are just rolling down my face. And there was a musician there who was doing a set. And as I broke down, he started playing Country Roads. And it was a moment for me that was like, West Virginia will always be there. Do what you have to do now, because you will help West Virginia in the future, and you'll come back stronger and better and in a better place to support the university, the Mountaineers, the state. And it was a moment where it was kind of, maybe God telling me, hey, Country Roads will take you home. Always relax. Everything's going to be okay. Give it a little bit more than a week. So I certainly did. And 10 years later, I was ready to move home. Sadly, my dad was battling prostate cancer and Alzheimer's. I wanted to be closer. So, not from Ohio. So I moved to Mansfield, Ohio. Didn't know anyone. reached out to that chapter. They had fallen apart. It felt like deja vu. Okay, let's rebuild. So I spoke with Eric Gressick, who is lovingly known as Gresso, and he said, take over the chapter and do what you can with it. And I've been incredibly blessed with the people around me in that chapter who have helped restabilize what was once a great chapter. And I think we're very much back there. We do some events every year, 65, 70 tickets sold to Columbus Blue Jackets games. Consistently game watches are sold out. We have a packed bar. So that was really exciting. And running that chapter is really what led me here. And I started having conversations in Morgantown with folks who were doing this, that, and the other. And when I joined the trust as a trust member, I started saying, what can I do to help? How can I use my vehicles, my connections, the people I know to get the word out for what y'all are doing? How can we hit these goals? How can we be one of the most competitive NILs in the space? There were too many people that didn't know Country Roads Trust existed, and that kept me up at night. I figured, what can we do? So that kind of turned into all of that, like, what can I do? How can I volunteer? Turned into a job description. And I jokingly always say I pestered Stephen Ford, our GM, for about 3 months consistently. These are the metrics I want to be held by. This is the job description. This is what I think we can do. This is my plan. This is my vision. And finally, he said, I think that we can bring you on board if you're ready. So I started a startup company, a recruitment agency, about 6 years ago in Los Angeles with about another 20 people. We were doing about $10,000 in revenue a week. We were doing about 40 million a quarter when I left. So after 6 years, I left a lot on the table, but very much like the flood in 2016, when we were flooded in Southern West Virginia, I quit my job in Los Angeles and I moved back to Raynell, stayed with my family, and I worked to fundraise, raised $15,000 grassroots, built houses with ASP, Samaritan's Purse, helped folks that had lost everything. And that was very much a calling to me, against, maybe everything that you would hope your daughter would think about at 26 years old. I wasn't thinking about my wallet. I wasn't thinking about my rent in Los Angeles. I wasn't thinking about my job. I was just thinking about the people, the people that are my family, that aren't really my family, but the people that are in those towns, whether it be Greenbrier County, White Sulphur Springs, Raynell, Rupert, wherever it was, these people molded me and they held my family up at one time or another. And that's truly what West Virginians do. And we come together when we need each other most. So I quit that job. I got on a flight and for 6 months built those houses. And that feeling was very similar to this. It was logic out the window, my heart telling me, I think I can make an impact at Country Roads Trust, and I have to go. And this is my calling.
Her talking about the folks in Southern West Virginia and West Virginia in the whole, and how giving they are. I remember her talking about the floods. I was doing some radio back home then. I was teaching still, but I was doing radio, and we did a couple of events to help with fundraising and product raising for families in that area. I had some good friends from over in Raynell in that area, and we generated, not us, but the local fire departments and so forth that were helping with this, had so much products, so many products, cleaning supplies, food, a list goes on and on and on, that they finally had to tell people, okay, we need to stop a little bit. We've got too much. We have too much, and that kind of tells you a little bit about that area, because it's not a wealthy area by any means, but people are extremely giving and helpful, and I worked a lot with some of the distribution, that sort of thing, but just amazing, the outpouring from the local communities. Not even Greenbrier County. I'm in Fayette County, and that's where this was going on at. So yeah, I get all that. When you talk about the Country Roads Trust, what I see up here. A lot of people don't really understand what it is. They have a general idea, oh, raising money for the NIL. They don't know how to get involved. They see the beer in the restaurants and say, hey, some of this money goes to the Country Roads Trust. But I don't think people have really put it all together yet. And I think I mean, as a fan myself, and I pay a lot of attention, and Frank and I talk a lot about these things. You don't really understand what's going on here. It's such a complex mix of things that are happening in the college sports world everywhere. But I'll stop talking. I want you to talk about what the Country Roads Trust is, how people can get involved with it, and what it, what it's hope to become.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, it changes literally overnight, and we have to keep, updated consistently on what's changing, what the rules look like. And I won't get into that because I think sometimes it's like, it might change tomorrow. So we'll re-update you tomorrow. But ultimately, I think there's an idea of like we're paying players to play. And that to me is we're missing the ultimate of name, image, and likeness. Think about the days of Pat White or Geno Smith playing here where we could slap their face on a t-shirt and sell it, and they saw zero revenue from that. That's
Right.
selling their likeness, and they're not receiving anything for it. So what we do is we are creating opportunities for athletes to create revenue based on their name, their image, and their likeness. And that goes hand in hand with the best of the best. If you have a 4 or 5-star recruit that's creating a lot of buzz, that's coming out of schools, they're obviously going to be someone that people want to buy their items, they want to buy their jerseys, they want to go to autograph signings and events and things of that nature. So that's where the monetization of it comes into. So Country Roads Trust, we are the NIL for WVU athletics. We support all of the athletics here at WVU. Some schools will only support football and basketball. We support all of them. So exciting things like the men's soccer team, #1 in the nation. We're thrilled to support them consistently. So ultimately, when you think about joining the trust and you support the trust, what you're supporting is opportunities for us to recruit better players because they have better opportunities to create revenue on their image of who they are. So if we have a 5-star recruit who's looking at an Ohio State and looking at us, but we're able to come to the table and say, we're able to get you this sponsorship, or we're able, there might be a car dealership, or there might be some sort of advertisement that you can do, or autograph signings. I mean, we have 1.8 million diehard Mountaineer fans that want to come and they want to meet these players. So we monetize that and we give them those options. So when it comes down to it, we have to be competitive. Everyone can have their thoughts around NIL and how it's changing, but ultimately we have one of two choices. We can either dig our feet in our heels, be mad about it, and fail, or we can transition, we can grasp a hold of this, and we can become one of the most competitive NILs in the country based on our fan base and how loyal and dedicated us Mountaineers are. And I think that there are schools like Virginia Tech who are doing incredible. There's no reason we shouldn't be beating a Virginia Tech. We swim in the same ponds as them. We're similar to them. There's no reason why we can't. And I think that a lot of that's on us, is us just getting more communication out, letting you guys know how you can get involved, better communication to members. Those are the things that I came on board for. I wanted to make sure that folks were finding out more information. I want to make things more exclusive for trust members. I want it to be accessible. I want it to be exciting. This is not instant gratification either. So, if you think that you're going to, donate $30 for 3 months and then we lose to Penn State and you want to pull out, I can't tell you enough that $90 that we appreciate the donation so much, but that instant gratification is not going to come. These are building blocks and this is years. But I see if we are competitive and we are doing what we need to do to create this NIL, this changes WVU athletics across the board for the rest of time. And that national championship is in our reach.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people have the impression of what you said right at the beginning of that is that it's just get as much money as you can and pay the players to come. And
Right.
It obviously is not feasible for a long-term success. You've got to do something different. So essentially what you're saying is the Country Roads Trust is there to assist these kids coming in with opportunities.
Opportunities, exactly. Yeah, you nailed it. Opportunities. That's all it comes down to. If we can provide more opportunities than the other school that they're looking at, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. That makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
What about the, I just want to mention, and I don't know what you can say and what you can't say, but the $1 million donation from Pat McAfee, what's that mean to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, that was incredibly exciting. We'll see how that pans out. Those are things that, some other, our GM usually deals with things of that nature, but how gracious and kind of him to do that. I think in the Neil Brown era, if there's anything that I've been most excited about, it has been rebuilding the relationships of past players that we've had. We talk as a lifelong Mountaineer fan, things that have kept me up at night is like, how do we compete with the Alabamas, the Michigans, the Ohio States? They have deep pockets, they have national championships, and they have key players that go on into the NFL. They are Heisman winners, whatever it may be, Super Bowl champs. What do we do? So we're incredibly blessed. We have a ton of great players. JJ going into the draft this year. We have, both the Pats, Owen Schmidt, now in Greenbrier County, continuing to give back to West Virginia. We have so many of those folks, but those relationships were lost or damaged during a tenure of a previous coach. And I'm really happy to see those things coming together. And I think with Blaine Stewart being on the team, he has a lot of those relationships. We are making a concerted effort to build those relationships and utilizing that so that it's another recruitment tool. A kid looks at Pat McAfee and says, Pat McAfee went to West Virginia, and look at him. I can go to West Virginia. It's changing that narrative that has been consistent where we are less than college, and we are not. We are a premier university with some of the greatest facilities in the country. We have opportunities out the wazoo. And people are starting to realize that. And I think if we continue to capitalize on the folks who have done well for us, who are loyal to us, who have gone out and done great things, we continue to build on that. And beyond his donation, Coach Brown giving him the 1863 bottle, which is the Trust bourbon, the Trust lager from Big Timber. That was huge for us as well. Those are things that I think a lot of people outside of Morgantown don't know that they exist, or outside of West Virginia. We can't ship beer, but we can ship liquor. So I think the promotion alone meant so much. And I think the love and the dedication that McAfee has for us, and him coming back for the gold game, it means the world to me. And I was here, I was a 2007, he was 2005, 2009. So I remember I was at the Pitt game that night. I remember how things looked, and I'm so grateful that his love for us and how proud he is to be a Mountaineer. When you watched his show, how many times he said, I'm so lucky to be a Mountaineer. It gave me
Yeah.
chills every single time, because I feel that way. I am so lucky. It is not lost upon me how lucky I am to be a Mountaineer. It means the world.
Talked about his teammates, and when he made the donation, he said, "This is from all of us," and I thought that was great too, because you may have some people that still feel a little on the outside, and not as involved as they might want to be, and I think that opens up that avenue as well. So that was pretty great of him to say that, to go along with all this.
We can all be Pat McAfee's, not with
Yeah.
$1 million, obviously. But one of the things that we certainly want to do with the show, the primary reason, is to promote the trust. And it's, participating is a click away. It's a great website. You just get on it, you click in, you can identify the level that you want to participate in. An annual gift or a specific ad hoc gift. And then what you said is very critical. You can pick the sport. It is so easy to do. And then you are a member. And I think that's really important. We're fans, we're all fans, but you can be a member and support the teams, the coaches. And another thing you said, which is really important, we were talking earlier, is that it's easy to get excited about the Mountaineers and the teams when the teams are going well. And what we have to do is level that off, so that when the teams aren't doing as well, we understand that we have to support. It's even more important for us to support.
Absolutely. You took the words right out of my mouth. I think it's even more important to join the trust when things aren't looking great. It's when we need you the most. And it's building blocks, and it's consistency, and us getting it out there, and building off of that. It's going to help us in the long run. Having a bad game and pulling, out of your membership, that's, for me, it's the opposite of what we are as Mountaineers. Like, we stick through the tough times, and when it's tough, we go tougher. So that's when we need you the most. And I promise you that, the funds are going to where they need to go. We're working incredibly hard around the clock, between the bourbon, the lager, and the pub that we just opened in Morgantown. We are creating so many new revenue streams, so we don't have to lean on membership so heavily. We understand that times might be tough for folks, and we appreciate every donation. It means so much, but understand that we're being as creative as possible to figure out other ways for revenue streams so we can continue to push the Mountaineers to the next level. So yeah, when you go on the website, we have membership options for annual or monthly. And then there are different tiers. You can, if you're a student, there's a student rate, there's an 1867 rate, there's, Country Roads, Blue, Gold, and Trust. And those are all split up either monthly or annually. So pick what you can afford. If you want to change that, feel free to email me, info@countryroadstrust.com. If you want to do more, you want to do less, you want to change that, we're happy to do it. And with every membership, you receive a gift. So, I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer. If you do, something Country Roads or higher, you're getting a signed item. It's really great stuff. And what I'm going to focus on is what you get out of your membership consistently. I understand if you donate $30 a month and you're not really getting anything for it, that can kind of feel somewhat, you're going to get your welcome box, you'll get excited, you have a signed baseball, a hat, a lanyard, a decal, but then 6 months from now, how are you feeling? Well, I want you to be in raffles for getting sweet tickets. I want you to opportunities to experience Mountaineer Field on the turf. I want you to be able to come to the GOAT for trust only events. I want there to be really exclusivity and being part of the trust, because another thing about being West Virginians is you give loyalty, you get loyalty. And so I think as a trust, we have to continue to show that to everyone. We're going to get that back tenfold. And I know that about the people of the state.
The new pub today, my coworkers
Yeah.
were talking about, and I'm just curious, how do you go about advertising different things? Because again, I think, outside of probably Morgantown, a lot of people, say down where I live in Oak Hill, Fayetteville area, don't really know how, what all's going on. How do you promote all these things?
So, we do a mailing blast, whether it be to everyone who's signed up for our emails. You'll receive that, and you can do that from our website or on our socials. You can sign up for emails. If you're a Country Roads Trust member, you'll receive specific emails. So if you're of different tiers, like you'll receive, pre-orders and invites and things like that. We're doing a lot on social, with X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads. I just brought on 2 interns. I was really excited to do an internship team here in Morgantown. Internships are incredibly hard to find in Morgantown. So I brought on 2 really great gals who are going to help me. I jokingly say, who better to run social media than a 19, 20-year-old girl versus a 35-year-old girl? Like they're already outpacing me. I'm like, I don't fix it. I don't know how to do it. So they've been really great. We've come up with some really fun ideas. I'm open to ideas. And that's another thing too, is I want folks to feel really empowered to give me feedback. This is your trust at the end of the day. This is your Mountaineers and your trust. And if you have ideas of what we can do, I am absolutely all ears. I'm going to be speaking at the university, talking with professors. We'll be doing different things. So it's like in terms of getting it down into Southern West Virginia, I was talking with Anthony Lewis, and we are really interested in, he's a St. Albans guy. We're trying to figure out how do we, funnel that communication down further. And I'm not sure, a lot of times these social media channels aren't it, it's missing a demographic or whatever it may be. So I'm open to hearing anything. I was thinking, maybe during basketball season on days, that we don't have games where I can come down, or maybe we have an away game and I come down to like a Buffalo Wild Wings and we do a game watch for the basketball team somewhere in Southern West Virginia. I set up, maybe I bring a player from the football team or the baseball team with me. Folks can come in, we can do a membership drive, and I can kind of give a little bit more information as to the NIL and Country Roads Trust and what we do. So I'm ready to get on the road and get back to Southern West Virginia. It would be a pleasure, but I think that's what it's really going to take, is some grassroots. I know folks will always come out to watch their Mountaineers. That might be the best way to capture them. But like I said, all ears for any ideas. I want to get out as much information as possible.
Yeah, Frank and I took part in the coaches caravan this year, and I got to see that, and it was fantastic. So there's you an idea. Just do a grand tour of the state, and take a player or a high profile person with you, and try to draw some people in, raise money. I think yeah. But how do you tell? And I heard you mention Alabama, Ohio State, the Blue Buds, I guess, if you will. How do you know, or how can you tell if we're keeping up or if we're falling behind, as far as the fundraising goes, and the NIL packages and that sort of thing?
It's hard for us to know numbers, but we are consistently keeping an eye on other NILs and what they're doing, what they're offering. Oklahoma State tried to put that QR code on their helmet, bless their hearts. So it's like, I think we're consistently keeping a pulse on what other people are doing and how big of an event they're doing, and the items that they're giving away for membership, and just trying to figure out what makes sense for us, because what works in Texas and Alabama is not going to work in West Virginia, in terms of they have it's like 100, 250, and 500. Those are the 3 tiers, and that's it. For us, that's not feasible, and we understand that, and we have to make adjustments. So I think overall, it's just watching their events, watching their social media, seeing how things are going, and just kind of seeing what looks like a success and what doesn't, and seeing what we can adapt to the Mountaineer way that makes sense for us, and just trying to stay competitive. I think ultimately in the next 3 to 5 years, the way our teams are built out, the better recruits that we're getting, and ultimately how the seasons are ending is what's going to tell us how successful we were.
And Greg and I have talked about this a lot. Leadership is leadership is leadership. When I tell people, it doesn't make any difference what field, what level. You know leadership when you see it. And Taylor, God bless you. I'll tell you, I as an alum, I couldn't be more proud of what you're doing, and what the university is doing to support these athletes. And you have, in one part of leadership, which is so critical, and you talk about it all the time, is communications. Communications is the basis of trust, but it's also vision. You don't stand pat, you move forward. And so how can you be true to mission, true to brand, but also expand and move in the future, so that you're able to keep blazing trails rather than going through the same motions over and over again. So the new pub is a great idea. Greg's idea, your concept too, of making road trips, because the more that you can bring yourself to the public, the more the public can see it, the more that they'll understand, and the more they'll get involved. I mean, that's basic leadership, as you know. So this has been a great period of time with you, Taylor. Any final thoughts?
Please join the trust, and let's go Mountaineers. Yeah,
great. Final thoughts, Greg?
Yeah, great suggestion. And again, it's the future of college sports. And I think we got out ahead on this one, and have been doing great stuff. We just got to keep it up, and we got to keep, I think, expanding with new ideas and that sort of thing, because our state is not a wealthy state by any means, and we're going to have to work a little harder than other folks. But I think that with people like Taylor in charge, and doing her thing, and all the others that have been working with us for so long, we're in pretty good hands. I think it's going to work out.
Great. Well, I can't tell you how much we appreciate your taking the time, Taylor. Taylor Scarnato, Frank Fear, Greg Crist. We're just so pleased to bring this to you on behalf of Mountaineer Locker Room. And Taylor, keep it going. We know you will. And let's go.